Another week here in South Louisiana and another headline. My name is Bryce Koon alongside Blake Ruffino. Blake, you and I were joking heading into that Alabama game last week when we recorded. Maybe we'll just be talking about a game. Maybe we're talking about a team that somehow found a way to win in Tuscaloosa. Instead, we're in the middle of a lawsuit, man. So I hope you've been staying up. You do have, I guess, a criminal justice background. So you got more than I do in terms of being able to read legal documents. Have you, I guess, greased up the wheels on the legalese here lately?
I did. I've read all 48 pages. I will send it to you if you'd like. I have the highlighted. Well, there's technically the summary at the very end if you don't want to read the first 47 that in all legal documents you can go to. But even then, it's but yeah, I mean, Bryce, basically, and I'm sure we'll talk about it. Basically, they're not going to court over cause. And I think people misunderstood what they're going to court for. They're going to court for who actually fired Brian Kelly. Is Brian Kelly actually fired? So did he have the authority? Do the bylaws stand? They're not going there for what Brian Kelly was fired for. So when when Pete Thamel or whoever, Pete Thamel reported it's for cause, it's not. Wilson, I thought, did the best job in this. Alexander of the Advocate, of saying what actually they're going to court for, and he was right. It is about the judgment in reference to the judge saying, "Hey, is he entitled to the $54 million? Is he not entitled to the $54 million?" I talked to our attorneys who sponsor our show. They actually think LSU could win the judgment because of the bylaws. Their thought is, by the way, they're defense attorneys, so they would not side on the one of them graduated from Tulane, so he does not like LSU. So just so we're all in, LSU attorneys. No, not necessarily the case. They believe that LSU could win the judgment because the bylaws state, and then they have to prove the authoritative spot over it, kind of like the whole Brian Harsin thing in a way.
Yep.
If you remember, Auburn won the first judgment. Okay, so I think everybody kind of needs to. I say everybody needs to kind of understand. Just take the time to listen, understand that it's not about the cause. It's not about, hey, they're going to court in reference to they're going to produce a whole bunch of stuff on Brian Kelly. However, there's going to be discovery. And I would assume that even if LSU loses the judgment, they're going to throw everything at the wall and say, we're about to let all of your dirty laundry out. You better settle. Like, listen, we don't want to pay you $54 million. Let's get to the $35-40 million-ish mark.
Yeah.
Does Brian Kelly care? And so, Bryce, I mean, him suing, to be blunt with you, and then if it does go to that, tells me that there's a guy that probably doesn't want to coach again because nobody's going to hire him if the alleged rumors come out about the marital stuff, even though she filed for divorce. I don't know. But if I'm LSU, personally, I'm throwing everything at the wall and saying, hey, brother, we might pay you, but we're taking you down with us.
So backing up here, I guess explain for the average viewer, and I did a little bit of this the other night, but just from what you believe and what you understand, what we've read now, how did we get to this point? What actually happened that Sunday after Texas A&M? What are you, I guess, led to believe and can understand, and what are you able to kind of say like actually happened here?
This is how I put it together. Now, let me just stop. I can be wrong. I'm trying to piece this together like everybody else.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so this is not like source, like, hey, this is what I was told. This is how I'm putting it together. Sunday morning, Brian Kelly went in the facility and he couldn't get in. He tried to do the thumbprint at the gate. They wouldn't let him in. He calls. No one answers. He goes around, and apparently someone's in the weight room. They let him in. And he's like, why can't I get in? Scott Woodward, Virgil Osbury, and Austin Thomas meet him in his office. And from what I understand, they told him to fire Joe Sloan. It wasn't Brad Davis. He said, I'll give you Joe Sloan. And then they try to cut Brad Davis, in which Scott and them said no. Then things got hectic. It seems as if Scott Woodward got mad and said, you know what? You're fired. Then Scott had to then run it up the chain to the Board of Supervisors, which then the Board of Supervisors would then, in a normal case, would run it to the president. LSU didn't have a president. They called the governor. Hey, you're technically over this. What do you want us to do here? Do you want us to approve it? I mean, we're going through the legalese of this. They're summoned to the mansion. They tell Scott Woodward to stand down. That's why he didn't do a press conference. You were done. You are 1,000% done, and that's why the whole thing went down with Scott Woodward. And then from what LSU is alleging, they then said, yeah, okay, look, he doesn't have the authority, meaning Scott doesn't have the authority to technically fire you. However, you are fired. You're fired like it's Vince McMahon, early 2000s, WWE. You're fired, but we're firing you with cause. Mm. And so that's what it seems to me that happened between all of this. Again, I can't prove any of that, but just through the legal documents, that's what it says. Because here's the thing. Brian Kelly did file a lawsuit and said Scott Woodward told him he was fired. He produced 4 eyewitnesses, his attorney, which the judge is going to listen to an attorney before any one of you because of the bar. And by the way, I mean, they're just going to. That's just how it works. Then you have Austin Thomas, who could be subpoenaed. You have Virgil Alsbury and Scott Woodward and Brian Kelly that could be subpoenaed if it got there. So you have eyewitness testimony. So a lot of this is opinion, but a lot of it's not too. A lot of it's kind of base-rooted in Brian Kelly produced more than likely the more accurate statement of what actually happened here. And then LSU said, yeah, that's right, but Scott Woodward doesn't have the authority to fire you. So do you know who Tom Mars is, by the way? He's kind of
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so me and Tom got into it yesterday. I say got into it. That's a bad way of characterizing it, Bryce. He said that what the bylaw was BS. And I said, okay, if the bylaw is BS, then explain to me if a guy that you say in Scott Woodward that has the authority was already behind the scenes working with the Board of Supervisors for a termination, that he has the authority when he's getting fired. He didn't respond. He DM'd me and said, I don't have time. And I said, well, if you don't have time, and then I ask you a question, how do you not have time? If you want to talk about it, then let's talk about it. So I think that because I'm curious. I'm curious just like everybody else. And I said in the tweet, I'm not trying to attack. I'm not trying to argue. Let me ask you a singular question. If Scott Woodward was going through a termination of his own behind the scenes, does that mean that he technically has the authority when he was getting fired? And I think that's what LSU is going to go and prove, because a bylaw is a bylaw. The last thing I'd say here, Bryce, who signed Brian Kelly's contract? Scott Woodward or William Tate? So then who does have the authority? The authority, then you have the governor saying, okay, now this is where Landry comes involved. Landry's a politician. He's a former attorney general. And now some of the things that he did comes in a little bit of light. He said the taxpayer is going to be in charge of all this, didn't he? Well, Brian Kelly then sued the state. Meaning that he was right in one massive thing. Scott Woodward didn't have the authority, then why did you sue the state? If it's LSU and it's not the bylaw, then why did you sue the state if he had the outright authority?
Yeah.
So now the attorney general is saying, you done messed up. So now kind of Brian Kelly has, in my opinion, based off of everything that I've gathered, then why did you sue the state if Scott Woodward's is in complete charge of this? That's how I understand everything. That's a lot. Who knows who's going to win? Who knows who's going to win? By the way, I mean, the judge in the 19th Circuit that got it, guess where he's a graduate of?
Oh, boy.
I mean, so this is about to get very Bryce, when they kick the ball off in Death Valley, the song is B-word, I'm from Louisiana, and we call it that boot. Welcome.
Yeah. So I think that's a great way of putting it together. And I agree with you too. Like, we can only infer so much off of the bits and pieces of information that we're given. I mean, it's not necessarily, and you've got sources talking to you. Like you said, it's really trying to just connect dots. And I don't think it's too much in terms to from what you said, that it seems like, hey, this is what we can logically conclude from the information we have. The issue is we've got new information coming out every 24 to 48 hours.
And I'm going to believe a legal document before I'm going to believe a human.
No doubt. So I don't know what the reaction on your show has been, but a lot of the comments over on the On3 board and just in social media I have seen, and I've seen a little bit of both sides of this, but a lot of the fans, correct me if I'm wrong, they don't care about Brian Kelly and the $50+ million. To me, it's more of, how does this affect our coaching search going forward? Would you agree that is the overall sentiment of the fans that you're seeing, or are there fans that are really concerned about the legal ramifications of all this, or is it more just take care of it, figure it out, so we can figure out our coach, and our coach doesn't have to look at this new head coach doesn't have to be bothered by something like this?
Yeah, I do think it's bothering it. I do, because, like, Bryce, you're 3 weeks. Ironically, it doesn't feel like it's been 3 weeks.
Yeah.
However, it feels like it's been 30 years. I feel like the woman rose off the Titanic. It's been 98 years. Okay. Yeah. So all in one, I think it's hurting you because I see, you talked about On3. You saw NACOs in the John Summerall thing. You got the stuff locally with Eli Drinkwitz in Penn State. You have Lane Kiffin in Florida. That talk started heating up, and apparently they're linking like a Knox Kiffin gecko that he bought, saying, "Hey, Gator's a lizard." Like, you get what I'm trying to say here. That everybody seems like, hey man, it seems like we're trying to go in this direction. We're trying to go for Eli Drinkwitz. We're trying to go for John Summerall. We're trying to go for Lane Kiffin. Where's LSU's?
Josh Pate said it pretty well last night.
I didn't see it. What did he say?
Essentially, that the head coaching search that it should be ongoing is not ongoing. Essentially they haven't moved upon that.
No, they haven't. Okay, and so I didn't listen to Josh, so I can't.
Yeah.
But he would be just as plugged in as anybody on it. I've just heard that there are too many chefs making too many phone calls, and everybody's kind of laughing at the situation. Like, this guy wants that guy, this guy wants that guy, this guy wants the other guy. And they're not, too many chefs in the kitchen on who needs to be making and charging this thing. And what it tells me, Bryce, Verge does not – I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Everybody keeps saying Verge has the autonomy. Okay, then why is everything that I've heard been told you have multiple and one of the biggest, if not the biggest voice in college football – stating what you just said, Bryce, I don't think that they do have it. And if they do, this is also going to be the most Louisiana thing of all time. Show them the right hand, slap them with the other. So I don't think that that's happened, because what's been organized in any of this? Now, I posted a clip that got me in a lot of trouble, and you could see the replies on under that, where I'm like, guys, you want me to trust this process. Bryce, I'm not hearing anything. Not anything that's worth relevance. Now, here's the thing that I would say that is a little bit intriguing. I do think that people, though, and coaches, however, are still massively intrigued to see what's under the hood. All right, I know it's bad. I know it sounds bad. It looks bad. How bad is it? Is it a bad divorce and then everybody that was in the divorce gone? Or is it, is it really that toxic? Because here's the thing that I think about LSU, regardless of how bad it is. The foundation has been laid. You can't fracture the foundation. It would take a lot more than this to fracture the foundation. Like, I think of, God, who went through like what Michigan State is going through today. Multiple show causes, recruiting violations. That would fracture a foundation. You're not going through that, right? Yeah. And so I do have heard that some coaches, maybe not some of the big names, are asking, like, what's under the hood? Who are those names? Now, Bryce, I will tell you that it's just something that I heard, that LSU was interested in Jeff Brom. Then those things got really interesting. He went, to his people and said, I don't really want to leave Louisville, but can you give me an extension so I can make some sense of this? Mm-hmm. So I do think LSU is moving a little bit. Florida and Penn State is not the reason that Jeff Brom signed the extension from what I've heard. So we'll see. I haven't heard anything that gives me a lot of confidence. And then to counteract this too, there are a lot of guys that were on that first big board. Brent Key, who a lot of others that are starting to come down off of that. And so, Brent Key with the best comment of all saying, I ain't leaving, like he's on the Wolf of Wall Street. So I think that everybody, even Auburn, who fired their coach after you did, is in more of a better spot to do something that they want to do than you are right now. So
point blank, because I've gotten this question a lot from, I got buddies that are obviously Tech fans and want to know what's going on down here. Auburn fans, we've got, obviously my co-host of my show is that. Is this still, in your opinion, the number one job? Like, how much does this taint what is under the hood? Where is that line of delineation where you can say, okay, that divorce is whatever, but, come January the 1st, let's play the hypothetical. When I'm the head coach and I'm sitting in the chair, I don't have to worry about those things because it's in the past, hopefully. Where is that line or that point of no return, in your opinion?
Oof. I don't know if you ask me right now, as painful as it would be, that LSU would be the number one that I would look at, because I'm like, for me, but knowing what I know, how much is this president? How much is this board of supervisors? How much is the governor going to be involved in this? Yeah. So you already said that you don't like spending the money, even though you just spent $65 million. So regardless of all of that, how much money do I have in NIL? I don't know. I don't know if LSU sits at 1. Now, if you ask I don't know if you can take the chaos out. If you take the chaos out, yes. Of course. But you can't. So Bryce, I don't know but see, the problem is Auburn's shown a lot of dysfunction over the years. Florida has shown a lot of dysfunction over the years. Just because you don't have it now doesn't mean that you aren't going to continue to have it. I mean, you've had it. So you've had longer sustained issues. By the way, just throwing this out there, Brian Kelly won 29 games in 3 years, and we're acting like there was massive amounts of dysfunction. I mean, was it to the standard? No.
Yeah.
30 damn wins in 3 seasons is not dysfunction, whether LSU fans want to admit that or not. They hate Brian Kelly, so they don't want to hear it. So with all of the dysfunction, if Brian Kelly – so you mean to tell me that Brian Kelly was playing golf and doing God knows what based off of what LSU's saying and based off of everything that happened, and he won 10 games? So that's the part of that I think all of these coaches are narcissistic. Like Brian Kelly said, dude, Ed Orgeron won a natty? Yes. Okay, I'll go there. I think they look at it in that light. And I don't think that they look at it in the way that we do. I think that they're narcissistic enough to say, wait a minute. If the governor has a problem with what I'm doing, he's going to have to pay me a massive buyout anyway. He can't get around it.
Yeah. So is the risk worth the reward? Yeah.
Right. So if he gets mad, so what? Like, it's like the whole thing that Ole Miss fans are saying with Lane Kiffin. They're trying to get him to sign an extension before the Egg Bowl. Or what? Like, what are you going to do? You're going to fire me? You're going to move on from me? No, you're not.
He holds all the leverage there, by the way, Ole Miss fans. All of it.
All of it. But you know who else does? Whoever wants that LSU head coaching job. They hold all the leverage right now and to get what they want. Now, maybe not every single little thing that they want, but probably 90% of it.
I think, and to your earlier point about Jeff Brom, that's why I have not I'm not diving into a pros and cons list because of that. No, I think that when you look at this job, it doesn't take the most expert media member to talk about recruiting, fertile recruiting grounds and opportunity and look at the NFL draft. Like, at some point, the job's the job. That's kind of what I've gotten to the point of. This job is still LSU. And if you can get past this which is a big deal. Like you get past this really, really dark set of clouds, right? This the storm that's on the horizon. If you can get past that, this is still LSU. And to your point, Auburn has had dysfunction. Look, I was talking with someone the other day. Like, do we just forget about the fact that Auburn attempted to make up infidelity rumors about their head coach Brian Harsin to get him out of there? Like, we just don't remember that. Like, but that's to the point, right? Like, some things can be forgotten and forgiven because you move on and do the things. That's why I hear you. Like, I do think this is still the best job available because I think the lore of this job and what you can do, and you went there to kind of the counterpoint it. Like at the end of the day, they got a problem. They're going to have to pay me a substantial amount to leave. So I'm a winner either way. And man, if you think coaches, I love this, and Blake, you see this all the time too. I love college football fans because they eat everything up, right? And I'm not saying we don't either, you know what I mean? Like, but we've had conversations with different people to be able to learn new things and I guess peel back the curtain on how things are done, how the meat's made. But people who just think these college coaches do it for the love of the game, like, hey, I love Brent Key, but when he said, "What color am I when you cut me open?" Green. That's what color you are. Respectfully, because you're getting green whether you stay in Atlanta or you go somewhere else.
And let's not act like Brent Key hasn't had the conversations behind closed doors.
Oh, you saw that Florida private jet at the DeKalb County Airport?
I mean, I heard. Never mind. I heard it was T.I.'s that went and got Brent Key. I'm just being honest with you. I heard T.I. went to go.
You can have whatever you like, is what they told me.
That's it. See, you know the lyrics. By the way, I was in Buckhead because my brother lives outside of Atlanta, and I was going to a media thing, and so I walked through, and I'm in a minivan. Okay, hold on. So I'm in a minivan. I got a Range Rover to my right, a Range Rover to my left, and a Range Rover behind me. And I'm like, I should put on Chameleonaire, by the way, just to say they see me rolling, I'm hating. But I was out of my element in Buckhead. I'll say that. But to your point, I agree with you. Money's money. Like, I don't believe Lane. Like, I don't believe in the documentary when he said, I told Jimmy Sexton gets mad at me all the time. Money's not a motivating factor for me. Then why haven't you signed the extension? You love the place so much, everything. Don't you dare tell me because Jimmy Sexton told me to. No, Jimmy's allowing you to put that all on him. You have the greatest head coach of all time, the greatest of all time, going to Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame and saying that he was sitting on the balcony with Jimmy Sexton and Jimmy was begging him not to leave LSU because it was too damn good of a job. Don't leave. That's what he said. Now, y'all going to put everything on Jimmy Sexton? By the way, who's Lane Kiffin's agent?
Yep.
I do think that this place holds a little bit of a soft spot for Jimmy because this is really kind of where it all started for him in a lot of ways.
Very fair. Yeah.
Like the whole situation with Nick, no one really knew who Jimmy Sexton was. Everybody knew who he was, and
but he wasn't Jimmy Sexton.
But he wasn't Jimmy Sexton now, right? And then when the whole Miami and then Alabama thing, and then who in the hell does Nick have as his agent? And then it grew from there. And listen, I do think that there have been conversations. There's one thing that I'll say: the conversations with Nick are the conversations with Nick. But you can't tell me that man doesn't have a soft spot in this. You can't tell me that he's not behind the scenes with Jimmy saying, I need you to help him. I need this. I want this. And I think that as chaotic as things have been, don't think for a second that there aren't people behind the scenes not trying to get this thing going in the right direction. Like Bryce, I got a phone call before I came with you, and they're like, hey, what do you need? Stop telling me about the chaos. What do we need? And so I think that when you talk about the best job, I don't know if people look at all of the things. Like I left last night's segment saying, hey, this is still LSU. Are you going to be able to show that you have your best foot forward will be the question.
I mean, perfect way to parlay this. What do you think about those betting odds with Nick Saban? Like, I mean, just face value. I mean, is Vegas idiots? Like, I mean, what are we looking at here?
Well, I know one thing. FanDuel's been right on every LSU line this season. So I do know that. If they haven't been on it, they've been damn close. The only game that wasn't close was the A&M game, but Yeah.
Yeah.
I think conversations have been had. I think anybody that believes Verge's, you mean it? Everybody's like, Verge Allsbury said on 104.5 ESPN that he hadn't talked to Nick. And then the very next sentence, he goes, I talk to him every other week. Hold on. You mean to tell me that a guy who went on radio and said that I talk to Nick Saban every other week has not asked him what he thinks about the coaching job? Then you're an idiot. Or I want the green that you're smoking, because you must be you must be Rocky Mountain High. That's what I know. Shaq ain't gonna lie, and I'm just gonna be blunt with you. And if Shaq's going out there saying it and he's giving money, buddy, he's gonna tell you where he's gonna go. He ain't gonna be quiet like, oh, what other coaching search did he did that for? Well, let's see. Matt McMahon and Kim Mulkey, and Shaq said that he gave money because he wanted Kim Mulkey. That's really interesting. Didn't his daughter want to come? You know, like, I think conversations have been had. I think things ended when Miss Terry told him to sit his lazy ass up in that chair with a cake. I'm just being blunt. I do think that LSU would throw the bank at him. And I do think that there's a realistic chance that if he said, all right, what is it again? That LSU would say, this is what we'd offer. I do think LSU would go all in there. For a national championship with Nick Saban to steer it right, I do think it would. He's 74 years old, and Bryce, I said this last night, I'll say it again. I don't think LSU should go in that direction. It doesn't give clarity. That's not going to give me a lot of fans. I would love it. It's Nick Saban. I mean, he built the place. However, I just don't know if he want in there. He looks like people say he doesn't like Pat McAfee. I don't see that. I see that he's having fun on College Game Day. So he's 74 years old, man. I don't know, Bryce, but if he said, what did you say again? And here's the question. If he's offered an ungodly amount of money, does Miss Terry tell him to get his ass up and go to work?
Well, I thought about this, and look, we're dealing in complete hypotheticals here. People are going to tear us apart for this segment. But if you just said, hey, Nick, we're going to give you 3 years. You know, you be here for 3 years. Is it a long-term? Because I've said this, Blake, I don't want to hire for this position, and you don't want to hire for any position like this, to just be back in the same place 2 years later.
Yep.
So, but the one caveat is if you got Nick Saban roaming the sidelines, do you allow your standard of hiring, what you would want to do you allow that to come down a little bit?
Yo, for him, I do.
That's where he's the one guy where I'm like, hey, 3, because I've seen people say it's like 3 years, maybe it transitions into something else, and maybe he picks, the next. I don't know what it is. I like to be careful when I promise things up front to people about things, because you just never know what could happen.
Ask Brian Kelly.
Very fair. That's the only guy I would do it for. I don't think it's going to happen. I think that it's a fun thing to look at. But I will say this, and just taking your point a little bit further. If Verge is sitting, whatever Verge does for fun, I don't know, sitting there hanging out, and his phone rings and it's Nick, and it says, hey, so run that by me one more time. I think collectively, Verge, hell, Jeff Landry, whoever, everyone sits up in their seats a little bit.
100%.
That to me is like, okay, let's maybe get the war room ready. What do we potentially? I don't think they think it's serious until he calls back. And if he doesn't call back, it's fine. Dude, I think he loves being on College Game Day with Pat McAfee.
I do too.
I have genuinely loved. I mean, not to go on a tangent here, I think College Game Day, a lot of people hate on it. The best thing they did was bring on Pat McAfee to help ease the transition out of Lee Corso. Because now, and I love Lee. We all grew up on Lee.
Yep.
But it's taking on its new identity for this next generation. And Nick Saban is a big part of that, the relation between them two. So I don't see it happening, but I don't think LSU would be nut. You gotta hear it out. If he is even an ounce interested, you have to hear it out, in my opinion.
Red panty night. Baby, put on the red panties. We're going to get Nick. I mean, again, you just said that a guy that was talking to him every other week doesn't ask him the question. If they have, you mean to tell me that he can call the best head coach of all time every other week and they have a conversation and he hasn't asked? You're an idiot. I'm sorry, but you're an idiot. Now, again, I don't think it's there. I don't think we're remotely close to being there. But the odds have it there. Okay, well, let's talk about it. I don't think that it's going to happen. I don't care if Jesus Christ Almighty came down and said, Blake, in 3 weeks, Nick Saban's the head coach of LSU, because I think that Nick worries more about legacy than he worries about money. If they rip his name off that field and that statue comes down, it will tear him up. It will tear him apart.
Yeah.
It will tear him apart because he cares about legacy. He left because of his legacy. Everybody says, oh, he left because the game caught up to him. He left because of legacy. By the way, just a newsflash to all you Rudy Poos out there. If the game caught up to him and he won the SEC and he's a play away from going to another national title, sign me up.
Yeah, I want that.
I want that. Yes. I want Jalen Milroe getting stopped at the 1 yard line in the playoff if that's where I'm at. I don't want to be 6-6 again. 5-7 potentially. Everybody's not thinking about Western Kentucky. We got that one next week, Bryce, by the way. Sign me up. I just don't. I don't think that. I think Nick looks at this. If everything was aligned, I think he would say, all right, I will heal you out one more time. And then you bust out the red panties. But because of all the chaos, I don't think that he gets remotely close to this.
Oh, God, we could talk for another hour. I guess the next part I want to take in this is just this. This is what pisses me off. I'm going to be real with you. What pisses me off about this head coaching search is every single time I write a pros and cons, the blanket comment that's thrown back at me, Blake, is, well, he hasn't won.
God, I'm
Blake, what does that? You have what? And correct me if I'm wrong. 3 active head coaches that have won a national title: Dabo, Kirby, Ryan Day. I'm correct in that, right? It was Mac Brown before last year, but Mac Brown's gone.
Right? No, you're right. Yeah, you're
So
right.
What is your standard of winning? When I say win, Blake, this is seriously what I mean, because I think we're already at 12. When we expand this thing, we have to stop judging good coaches off of winning national titles. Great and elite, sure. But just a good head coach in college football at the FBS level cannot be judged off how many titles he has won. It's probably reaching playoffs. So the bar, and look, I'm not trying to be disrespectful to LSU fans here. You always want to strive for perfection and a high standard. But you got to be realistic. Throwing names and like Drink, Hype. I mean, I wrote about Heupel the other day. Other names out there, Dillingham, Golish. Well, we just don't know if they could do it, and they haven't really won. What does that mean? Because I'm the kind of person, if you're going to tell me that, okay, well then tell me what it means to win and offer me candidates who are realistically you can go get.
Bryce, I think LSU's more like Ohio State that they want to admit, meaning Ryan Day. Let me explain. Ryan Day kept getting to the playoff over and over and over and over and over again. When he lost to Michigan, they were like, oh, man, if he doesn't win it all this year, we're firing him. Well, no, they weren't. Okay, they weren't firing him. Let's just be real. But then he won it. You know, I think of what LSU fans really want, and they're not going to admit this on y'all's board. They're not going to admit this on Twitter. I just got in an argument before coming on here. Hey, man, you've been saying stuff that's toxic. Okay, what did I say? They don't know what they want. Like, they don't even know what we said. They don't remember. So yeah. I think that they just want – Brian Kelly would be here if he were 7-2 right now, right? And so there wouldn't be this. I do think, though, that there is the standard of, all right, hold on a damn minute. You're tied for second since the year 2000 in national titles. Verge was right on this, not being a consistent. And what I think of consistent, an every other year playoff team or contender every year for that is unacceptable. It cannot happen. Again, you have a state where you have Eli Holstein. You have Elijah Haven. You got the kid
Peyton
from
Houston.
Peyton Houston, the kid from Jesuit. I'm just throwing all of that out there. Bryce, you can't miss on all of that and not get there. But right, like you have the infrastructure. So when a fan sees it, they say, all right, I think that the whole thing though, and kind of getting to your point here now, the whole thing in all of this is I hate the argument. Well, what have they won? Well, what have they won? What did Ryan Day win? What did I'm so glad you brought up Kirby Smart. Kirby Smart came into Death Valley and got his teeth kicked in by Ed Orgeron before he won a national title.
Yeah. And nobody's talking now, though.
And nobody's talking now. Why? When's the last time he won one? I mean, Nick's last national title was in 2000. I mean, you didn't say that the end of the years. Now you're saying, well, then he couldn't win one. You mean to tell me that he's a play away and he couldn't have won one? You're crazy. Harbaugh's another example, even though he cheated to get his. I mean, it just comes to a point, Bryce, where, I don't think South Florida has the resources for Alex Golesh to win a national title. Yeah. I don't know if Tennessee does for Heupel. Here's a good thing. I don't think Eli Drinkwitz has the infrastructure at Missouri to win a national title. Sorry. You know who else doesn't? Ole Miss, and that's why you want their coach. He did not get a top 25 or top 10 win, did Lane Kiffin, until he beat Georgia last year. And then he got beat by Georgia again this year. What does he won? And you won him. So why is the argument changed for Lane Kiffin? Why is that argument changed?
Yeah.
He's beaten one top 10 team, Bryce, and then he beat Oklahoma this year on the road. I mean, it's not as if he's one of anything of significance either.
Well, I think
I hate it.
We're also at a point, too, where we're kind of in this next generation of coaches to where you're going to have to take a chance no matter what. That's what the whole coaching business is. If you want a known commodity, like, I mean, I've joked with people who've kind of said this just to try to keep it lighthearted. Well, then just shut the program down. Like and take all the NIL money and funnel it to Jay Johnson. Just give it to him and win the title every year. If that's what your standard is, I'm not trying to make fun of the pride that LSU fans have. I think it's phenomenal. I've been down here for 3 years. It's unmatched. It is unbelievable. But you're not to be realistic about the landscape of college football, Blake. I had someone tell me if LSU doesn't average 10 to 11 wins a year, their coach should be fired. That is asinine. That is ridiculous, especially in an expanded SEC. Have you looked at that schedule next year, Blake? Good God.
Yeah, I mean,
I know we're going off here, but it's the point I'm making.
I mean, I could understand 10 wins. Like I can understand 10 wins.
Fair. Can you go 10-2 every year? Yes.
Okay, that's a baseline. You better be around there. If you go 9-3, you go 9-3. We lost this game.
16-team playoff, you might be in. You probably are.
You probably are. But you're not. You got to start being – Louisiana and LSU has a problem with thinking that their baseball team is equivalent to their football team in how they've been infrastructure-wise. Meaning, like, when has LSU baseball historically been down? For a long period of time.
Yeah.
We weren't alive. By the way, just a newsflash, you and I weren't alive, okay? Yeah. I mean, I know I wasn't. So that's the part where I'm like, I'm with you there. I can talk to you about 10 wins. Saying that you're 11 win team, 12 win team every year, it's unrealistic. Yeah. It is unreal. Kirby might not get there, and he might be the best coach in the sport.
You know who got there? But he plays in a lesser conference? Dabo. Dabo averaged 10 wins a season for over a decade. You know how hard that is? That's ridiculous. And I get ACC is it's different. That's a whole nother conversation. But it's I don't know, man. We're just sitting in we're in this lull, right? It's why we've talked for 40 minutes here about government, Nick Saban, and now expectations. You know, it's where we are. I don't think anyone needs this regular season to end more than LSU media.
Nobody.
I'm not going to name names, but one of the media members on Tuesday night said, or Saturday night after the game, as we're waiting for
Frank Wilson.
Not God. I was going to get killed for that one. He said, I kind of hope they lose out. I don't want to go cover a bowl game. Like, let's just move on. Fans are going to hate to hear that. You may hate to hear that. I do understand from supposed to be an impartial media member we're like, let's just get to December the 8th, that Monday after conference title weekend. Let's really dive into, because that December is going to be a marathon and a sprint all in one.
Yeah, I got to be real. As someone who gets paid based off of game views, I want them to go to a bowl game. I think that you should want them to go to a bowl game because they get an extra, 14 practices, and this team needs all the practice that they can get at the current moment. They need, and Bryce, what if you do go to Michael Van Buren? Michael Van Buren could take all the reps that he can get at the current moment. So I completely disagree with the bowl game sentiment thing.
Yeah.
You need to go to a bowl game, regardless if you get your teeth kicked in or not. You have
a developmental purpose.
For developmental purposes alone. I don't care if you get blown out by 70 points, like my name's Pat Narduzzi. But regardless, you need the reps. I understand people are exhausted, and they're exhausted because there's been chaos. The media has been getting hate because the chaos. Oh, y'all are covering the chaos. Well, no shit, Sherlock. Thank you, Sherlock Holmes, for pointing that out to me. I never would have gotten that clue if you didn't point it out to me. Everybody's exhausted. I get no one's more exhausted than us. As a fan, you're not more. I promise you, I hate to be that guy, but I'm going to be that guy right now. You're not more exhausted about this than we are, because this thing goes off. Bring. Hey, who are you going to get? I don't know. Stop calling me.
Yeah.
You're right. I am ready for November the 28th to get here. Then you'll know. Because if you're – Bryce, here's the good thing. You're 2 weeks away after Thanksgiving, basically. The week after Thanksgiving, you're going to know exactly what's going on. You can't hide it anymore. So you got 2 weeks. Hang in there. And it's going to be fun. But, what the funny thing is, we've been here for 40 minutes. We didn't even talk about the game. And that's how you know that it is where it is.
All right, I'm going to get you for 3 more minutes.
Okay.
Van Buren, should he redshirt or not? Would you if you were him? What would you do?
I said this on Monday night. I'll say it here again. He is not my son, clearly. However, if his name were Benjamin Van Buren or Benjamin Ruffino is going out there on Saturday to support his team. We don't back down. We will never back down, ever. You do not bail on your team for personal gain. We'll figure it out. We're never going to bail on your team, because the last time that a quarterback bailed on a team and redshirted, now you want that guy pulled for the guy that you want to now not take a red shirt. Reps are reps. Bryce, what if he goes out there, balls out, and then the new coach comes in here and goes, who in the hell is Michael Van Buren? You can do everything humanly possible to be the starting quarterback at LSU. You never back down. If he were my son, there is no chance whatsoever that I am telling him to sit. We went to LSU to be the starting quarterback at LSU. Let's go take it. And guess what? If it doesn't work out, at least we tried. If you redshirt and you sit on a bench, you will never know. You'll never know. How will you know?
Yeah.
There's no way in hell that I'm telling him to do that. Now, do I understand it if he does it? Yep, I understand it. All this is chaotic. Maybe that is why Frank didn't turn to him. But if you're going to play him what you can't do is you can't play him part-time. You can't play him part-time and burn his red shirt. If you're going to play him, play him. If you're not and you're going to go back and forth, then play Garrett and let's roll and let's lose out and let's go that route. Don't you dare. Don't be that guy, Frank. Now, I'm going to tell you something, and I don't give a shit who cares about this. I'm going to be vocal about this. Don't you do that to that kid. Don't you mismanage this situation because you want this job. Frank wants this job. Let's call it what it is. Then you better go after it. Ed Orgeron benched Brandon Harris for a reason, and the fan base supported him for it, even when you lost. Even when you lost, you cannot back down. Don't back down from this. And again, I don't know Michael Van Buren. I've never had a conversation with him. I don't know him. Young man, we never back down. You will look back at this in 10 years and say to yourself, I am so glad that when my number was called, I said, you know what? I'm going to stand firm for my team, and I will never back down. Want to win a locker room? When a new coach comes in here and they say, hey, guys, what's going on? Michael Van Buren's our quarterback. Don't you dare go get a quarterback. That kid led us. All right, sounds good. And then you go from there, Bryce. You never back down. So I have been very passionate. I know Brune said that I've been yelling a lot lately, but that's just really true. Don't back down. You can't back down. So sorry for going long-winded there, but I am telling you to play. You got to play, but you can't part-time him. That I will go nuclear on this staff if they do that to him. That is mismanagement at the highest order.
You're playing with a kid's future. It simply comes down to this. I wrote about this today. You either play him or you don't. And if I'm Michael, you've got what? You played 3 games. This is your 4th here against Arkansas. I'm walking out of that building, and I need a guarantee from Frank Wilson and this offensive staff. Am I the guy or not? If I'm not the guy, don't play around with me. But I also say this, if you have an opportunity to be the guy and you're Van Buren, make that next head coach tell you, no, you're not the quarterback.
Exactly.
Don't leave it up to chance. Don't be the guy sitting there waiting in the locker room and say, nice to meet you, and then file your paperwork. Make him say no. That's all I got to say about it. But Blake, I appreciate you, brother. As always, man, it's a good time talking with you. Went a little bit longer tonight. It's a lot of fun. He does a great job. I think he's going live here in about 10 minutes right after this. Back to back to back. Is that what it is? You got it.
Back to back to back. I'm like Oprah, just giving gifts to everybody.
There you go. I didn't know where we were going with that one, so I was nervous for a second. We appreciate it. Blake Ruffino does a great job. AYS Ruffino and Joe Show. Check them out there. We'll have the links down there below. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, continue to support there as well. And I hadn't been shouting them out, but I know Blake has done some work with them there. Check out Section 103. They do a fantastic job. Great LSU gear. Premier product. We love them, obviously, with the tech gear there as well. And heck, man, they dove into Kennesaw State, and that team might win the Conference USA. So we appreciate it. What you throwing up? Look, gotta love it. They just restocked the hat too. So
I know. They I wear their shirts to work out every day, and I make my guns look big, even though they're flabby. So there you go.
Blake Ruffino, we appreciate it as always, man. Thanks so much for hopping on and talking with us.
Thanks, buddy.